Well, hello! I'd like to welcome you to my review of the Lamy 27E. This is an ancestor of the classic Lamy 2000 and one of my all-time favorite pens, despite some recent issues, which we'll get into next week during Pens in Use. Not this week, for reasons you'll see next week. But this video is about the Lamy 27E. And I think you're going to see a strong family resemblance, and I think you're going to see a pen that probably could have competed with the Parker 51 had Lamy chosen to market it in the United States the way they did elsewhere. So let's dive into it. If videos like this interest you, where I talk about fountain pens both new and old and at all price points, I would invite you to subscribe. And hey, maybe you have some comments on the 27E or the Lamy 2000, or the pen I'll be doing next week, the Lamy 99. I will just point out before I get into this that down below in the video description I provide links to all my sources. I'm not so good at the primary sources because of the whole vintage pen thing. Sometimes I have to rely on hearsay or secondhand or tertiary sources. But if you'd like to fact check me, there it is. There's where I got everything. And I will try to put footnotes, get my sides right, over there somewhere in the corner of the screen so that you can see where my citations are. So let's take a look at the pen. There's my notes. We'll just leave them on screen there. So you know I'm following an outline, doggone it. So this pen actually has a lot of the features still found on the Lamy 2000 today. The pen was introduced in 1952. There's one of those footnotes I was talking about. 1952. It's based on a model actually sold by Artis, under which Joseph Lamy had previously sold his pens. But I guess he finally went with Lamy at this point. I'll just point out Lamy. And then here written on the pen barrel, 27. And then way over yonder, 27E, oblique broad, which I think would get a little inconvenient if you replace the nib. The 27E refers to this plastic screw-on cap. You might notice the torpedo ends, by the way. The 27N has a gold cap, and there were other models and colors. Later models were not so torpedo-y. They were more squared off, a lot like this Lamy 99, which I'll review next week, and they would have had an L on one of the finials. This, of course, does not. So this is the early design. It's a piston filler. It's an ancestor of the Lamy 2000. One kind of neat thing, which maybe you can make out there, are these rounded ink windows. And, of course, the nib. I will do a comparison with the Lamy 2000 in a bit after I do the writing sample, but I'll just point out right now, since we're studying the pen so closely, definitely some similarities there. Although this one, you cannot interchange the nibs. This pen has an oblique broad nib. The ink I'm using is Noodler's, which, by the way, this bottle is almost empty. Give me 2 or 3 more fills and it will be empty. Apache Sunset, which is supposed to be well known for its shading properties. This weekend in Pens in Use, I'm going to compare it with Diamine Autumn Oak, which is another nice shading ink. Let's see about flex. This is a gold nib on this pen. Okay, who said that? You said you don't believe me? I heard you. There. It's upside down, but 585 Lamy. Come on, focus. Written right up there where the semi-hooded nib meets the section. That said, not a particularly flexible nib, which is fine. They don't have to be. Wetness and flow. I think you can already tell there's a bit of wetness here. That's why it's showing such delightful shading. The smear test, which admittedly I should probably just always use the same ink when I do these. But yeah, very wet. And in this pen, the ink isn't causing the problem it does in some pens where it gets so it will never dry out. It actually, this pen seems to keep a good seal on this ink. So happy with that. With a oblique nib, I'm always nervous what's going to happen when I do reverse writing. Some pens it's amazing. Obliques, not so much usually. Yeah, scratchy no matter... yeah, I'm done. Scratchy no matter... Oh, I misspelled reverse also. But it's scratchy no matter what angle I hold it at. Just blech, blech, blechity blech. So now let's dive into a longer form writing sample. By the way, this gentleman has an interesting book, and you can find I think it's a TED Talk on YouTube called, sorry, I'm going to swear here, Bullshit Jobs. No joke. Definitely worth reading. I'm working on the book right now. I have watched 2 different videos by him. Tell you what, makes me glad I'm a teacher. So we'll do the Peer Gustafson test, where we just look, see how well the pen writes with a continuous flow and relatively quickly. It looks like the only time I had trouble, well, maybe a bit there and then over here, but I think I rotated away from its oblique angle. Oblique nibs, by the way, if you were wondering, are cut ground at an angle. The other test I always like to do with these pens, I've started doing anyway. No trouble. Fit right into the pocket. I like this pen a lot. The feed is what they call a tintomatic. Oh, look, there's another one of those subscripts I was talking about. It's designed for changes in temperature, pressure, and so on, so it doesn't go bloop all over the inside of the cap and then presumably all over your shirt. That's a topic that will come up not this week in Pens in Use, but next week in Pens in Use, because I got a shirt to show you. Not horrible disaster, but no longer wearable to school. It's actually basically the same feed design used in the Lamy 2000. Gold nibs, but only the ones from the pens that have squared off ends are compatible to Lamy 2000. They actually clip onto the feed. Apparently this nib does not. I read one horror story, I forget which link it is, but one of the links where the guy talks about it. Oh, it almost disappeared down the sink because it just slipped off the feed. And I just thought, wow, one more reason, although my experience with Lamy 2000, don't take them apart if you don't have to, but yeah, one more reason not to take the pens apart for cleaning. Although I guess if you're restoring, you kind of have to. But yeah, the newer nibs are crimped onto the feed. I like it. It's a slender pen. You know, we'll put it next to the Lamy 2000 here. Definitely smaller. And here, let's look at some family relationship. Okay, how can I get this lit? There we go. Oops, almost had it. There. Oh, got it. There we go. You see that? Looking pretty similar. Flip it to the other side. Yeah, the 27E is more rounded, but basically getting the same idea. I prefer the ink windows in the 27E. I don't actually mind the ears here, but as I've mentioned, this has been a bit of a sore point right here with me. So, like I said, that's why we're waiting 2 weeks till you get an update on the Lamy 2000. But overall, very nice pen. I will say, if you're looking for a vintage pen, some of them can be a little pricey. This is generally a lower cost vintage pen. It's a very good vintage pen with a large ink capacity, but among vintage pens, it's inexpensive. And of course, the plastic scratches easily. And this is a pen probably with a different nib that could fill the role of the Lamy 2000. I'd be happy to use this as a daily writer. And what else do I have? The nib is an oblique broad, and I was going to compare it to the Lamy. Did I bring it down? Of course I didn't. I was going to compare it to the Lamy 2000 broad, so of course I didn't bring the pen down. So let's just page back 1 or 2 pages. Actually, let's not, because that's not the right notebook. Let's pull out this notebook, my pens in use notebook, and compare. So I think it was, 2 weeks ago? Maybe 3 weeks ago? There we go. Zoom in on that. Whoa, daddy. So I think you can see that the broad on the modern Lamy 2000 is broader than this broad. I don't have a citation for this, so don't look for this in the footnotes. But in general, from what I understand, the vintage Lamy nibs aren't as broad as the modern ones. Like the modern Lamy fine is more like a medium. The extra fine is more like a fine. The broad is more like an extra broad. Double broad. Yeah, that's what I mean, right? Anyway, so just kind of a cool thing that I noticed, and hey, it was borne out in this pen. I don't know where I read that or got that idea from, but that's not in the footnotes. And hey, filled up a whole notebook with pen review notes, so I'm starting on a new notebook now. This is the next week's review, which I filmed before this one, is going to be the last video out of this notebook. And this is the last video I will ever film out of this notebook. So it's always fun to finish a notebook and start on a new one. So if videos like this interest you, where I talk about fountain pens both new and old and at all price points, I would invite you to subscribe. And hey, do you have a vintage Lamy that you like? Perhaps you'd like to comment on this one as compared to the Lamy 2000. If you have comments, please feel free to leave them down below. And hey, fact check me! Maybe I said something stupid or wrong. Please feel free to leave that in the comments down below. But be nice. Be constructive, not hurtful. Because I've got a fragile ego. So, thank you for watching. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.